Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a tube with Mosaic Crochet. So I have some patterns that require this method, so hopefully this will be helpful for those. And if there's anything you want to make in the round seamless tube, this is how it's done. So to start with, you're going to need to make your chain. So depending on what your pattern requires, make your chain as long as is necessary. Just a simple basic chain. I shall continue until I have the right amount. So for this demonstration, my pattern repeats every 8 stitches. So I have done 4 repeats, so I have 32 on here. Now we're going to loop it back round, being careful not to twist it. And if you look at your chain, you will see you have your V, and if you flip it over, there is a bump at the back. That is what we're going to want to work into, the bump at the back. Sometimes it's hard to get your hook into it, so I put my hook down next to it and then sort of loop it up so my hook goes through there. And you're going to do your single crochets through those loops. The reason we do this is because it leaves the V at the bottom, so if you need to stitch it together, or if it's even if it's a raw edge, it's a much neater, nicer edge. As you can see, I'm going down beside it and then looping up into it. So we're working in the back bump of every stitch all the way around. Oops. Until we get back to our last one. So I shall come all the way around and show you once we get to here what to do next. So I have made it to the last stitch in that round. I have 32 stitches. I'm going to pull up a loop, turn my work around and put my hook through the first stitch, loop that back onto there and pull it through to the back. And that is the end of your first round. Now I do a couple more rounds before I deal with my tail end. You can see there's a slight step there, but once you've stitched that in, you'll barely see it at all, so we won't worry about that. So now for our next colour. To add our next colour, it's very similar to when I have done it on a round base. You pull the colour through the loop, chain 2, and then you tighten the first colour and tighten the tail of the new colour. To do the first stitch, you are working into the same stitch you have just come from. So my first row of Mosaic Crochet for this design is all single crochet back loop only. So I'm going into the back loop only and I'm going to do a single crochet on the very first, sorry my yarn's very splitty, on the very first stitch. Give it all a bit of a tighten and then continue around all my stitches in the back loop only. And once I've gone all the way around and got back to here, I shall show you what to do next. So I've made it to the last stitch. I've counted them just to double check I've got the right amount. Pull up a loop and we're going to work back into our very first stitch and pull it from front to back. And that's completed our second row. So we need to go back to our cream colour. So we're just going to drop the blue and pick the cream back up and chain 2. and just tighten that one there. So now we're working with the cream. This is the pattern I'm working with. We've done the first 2 rows, both were single crochets back loop only, but this next row I have 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets and then a double, and then 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and I have done this as a repeat of 4, so I shall end up with 4 doubles in this repeat pattern total. So I'm going to start my first single crochet back loop only into the same stitch we were just working with. How many did I say? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have our first double crochet down into the row below. And then we have 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to repeat that pattern again. So 4 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a double. So I shall continue on round and show you again the colour change when we get to here. Again, I've made it to the last stitch, so we pull up our loop, turn it round, working into our very first stitch, pull our loop from front to back, changing our colour back to the others, chain 2, tighten it, and now we're working back into the exact same one. The next row I have 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3 single crochets, a double, a single, a double, and 2 singles. So working into our very first stitch, oops, single crochet back loop only. This yarn is very splitty today. And 3 of those, 1, 2, 3, a double into the row below, single, double, and 2 singles before I repeat the pattern again. And as you can see, the seam is starting to come together. You can't really see it as a seam on the inside. You'll be carrying your yarn up, but on the outside you won't be able to see it. And that's how you continue this on to make your tube. And if you need to change the colour, you just do as I did on my first row there. You just add your next colour in. Doing the chain 2 and working into the same stitch keeps the seam on the inside nicely hidden. So I'm going to continue around it one more time for you. So I've made it back round again. I've pulled up my loop, turn it round into your first stitch, pull your loop from front to back, change your colour, chain 2, tighten it a little bit, and so for my next row it is 2 single crochets, double, 1, 2, 3 single crochets, double, single. So working into the top of the one we've just come from, single, 2 singles. I'm just going to tighten that a bit there. So we have a double, three singles, another double, and a single. You see it's starting to come together. I'm going to continue on now and do a few rows and just show you how the tube looks after it's a bit bigger, because it's always very hard to see what's going on when you've only done a few rows. So I'm just going to continue on with this pattern and then come back to you once I've done all 8 rows. So I've completed the 8 rows of that, and now I'm going to show you how to finish it off. We're simply, so I've pulled my loop through from front to back. I'm just going to simply snip my ends and then pull the loop all the way through like so. Now we're going to need a needle. So as you can see, where I've pulled that through, it's just one strand going through there. What I'm going to do in the last stitch that we went in, I'm just going to go down through the middle and pull that through, and that completes that stitch. So you can't see where it started and where it ended. And then I'm just going to weave in that end. I shall do that properly in a minute, but that gives you an idea of how to finish that off. And then you have your first tail here. We're going to just simply weave that in as well at the bottom, taking it up on into the inside, and then you can weave that in without it being seen, hidden away. And your other ends will be secure as they are. If you are going to keep this as an open tube, you may want to weave in all of those ends and trim them off neatly. But if you're using, say, one of my cushion cover patterns, you don't need to weave in these ends. They will be hidden inside and you won't be able to see them. Let me show you the inside here just so you can see the seam. So this is where we've done our chain at the back to carry the yarn up, so you have a neat little seam there, and when you turn it back the other way around, you can barely see where that is at all. Spin it round. It's very hard to tell where that is, especially if, like I said, you're doing one of my cushion covers, you put the seam down the side like that, you won't be able to see that at all. So there we have it. How to make a tube with Mosaic Crochet. I hope this was helpful. If you need any further assistance, please do message me, because I'm happy to make more videos. I want to be as helpful as I can be, especially if you're creating one of my patterns. So let me know if this helped you, or if you would like some further help with it, and I shall make sure that I do that for you. Thanks. See you again soon.